Welcome to Behind the Scenes. I am your host, Hector Montalvo. This show is dedicated to asking tough questions for you, the viewers. We bring you their responses, and we let you decide. Joining us here today at our MCTV studios, we are honored to be sitting with Chairman of Methuen Charter Commission, Mr. Joe Pappalardo. Mr. Pappalardo, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Hector, for having us.
And also joining us here today, Vice Chair of the Charter Commission, Ms. Dottie Khalil. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us.
You know, my show was viewed national, so I'm an international star. For those people that don't know who Joe Pappalardo is or who Dottie Khalil is, please tell us a little bit about yourselves.
Okay, I've been a resident of the city of Methuen for at least 45 years, going closer towards the 50 mark soon. But I've been self-employed basically all my life. I ran a landscape business, and I also served a 4-year term as a city councilor representing the West District. And I kind of dropped off the scene, but I got re-motivated by the lady that's sitting next to me, basically, that I met, and she said, you know, do you feel that you're happy with the way things have been going the last 10 years or so in the city of Methuen? And she was a main proponent of starting a group of citizens called the Citizens for Better Government Group. And that was the group that basically brought forward the question through a lot of hard work, 6,000 signatures we had to obtain of voters, to ask the voters of the city to put a question on the ballot a year ago, November, if they would be interested in having a commission formed to review our city charter. The city charter is, in essence, our Bible, our document that runs the city of Methuen. It hadn't been looked at in at least 20, 25 years, I gather. And the vote was affirmative, and we got the signatures, which was a lot of work. And through Dottie putting the group together, this is how it came about.
Great. And I'm sure we'll be going into a little bit more about what the charter does and some of the proposals. But Ms. Dottie, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Oh, well, I've lived in Methuen all my life. In fact, I was born in Methuen years ago, many, many years ago. And been involved off and on. I served a short term on the council back in the 80s and have been politically involved between council and school committee issues. And then kind of backed off for about 15, 18 years. Stayed mostly with zoning issues, kept my concern with zoning in the agricultural area. And then there were certain things that were going on in the council, so I thought it would be best to start and review the charter again, because there were so many changes that were made through the years that made everything very beneficial for the politicians and very difficult for the people to do anything about what they were doing. So I contacted Joe. He's giving me too much credit. If it wasn't for Joe, this whole committee would never have come to fruition, you know, so.
Tell us what's been going on with the Charter Commission lately?
Well, I'll tell you this. We've been meeting for approximately a year. We've been trying to have at least a couple of meetings a month. We started a review process from page 1 of our existing charter. We went through it. That was quite lengthy, reading it, trying to digest some of the legal language that's in it. And we also took upon us to review other city charters, to get some background as to how other cities, what was built into their charter as a comparison to what we had. And basically we came forward with some suggestions and changes that we brought, and we're in the process right now. In order to accommodate some of the charter members, I took it upon myself to have the same rules basically that are on the city council, that there'd be 2 readings. Some of the members felt that during the summer months, if they weren't there, we would try to ramp something through if there was only 1 reading, and they had, requested that we, not do that, and I accommodated them by saying we'll follow the same council rules. And we're in the process right now of going through the second read, and that we have a deadline, so, and I've mentioned it before, we have to have a preliminary report submitted to the Department of Housing and Development and also to the Attorney General, I think by March the 4th. So I've been trying to be the whip guy here to get the commission on board to meet the time constraints that we have. And that's been a task because people, especially during the summer months, as you can understand, are away on vacation, so on and so forth. But now we're down to the second read. We have just a few months left, and we still have to get the second reads completed.
Now, what were some of the proposals that have been brought forward by the Commission?
Well, the most controversial is the term limit issue. When the charter was initially adopted way back in the 90s, we had what they call lifetime term limits. So the 3 2-year term, the 6-year term, the council or school committee or whoever has in the community, once they finish their 6 years, say as a counselor, they could never run for the council again. They could run for the school committee or housing authority or to be the mayor or whatever they want, but they just can't keep bouncing back and forth. That was changed in the late 90s because when we went to mere form of government, for some reason we term limited the council and the mayor, but we didn't term limit the school committee. So the council, in its infinite wisdom, decided to eliminate, to limit the school committee, and in the process, they brought us to the term limits we have now, where it's kind of like a partial term limits. They're 6 years on the council, stay off 2 years, then they come back to the council. So what they're doing again is they're bouncing from council to school committee, just to keep their name out there in the public, or whatever insurance they're getting from the community, or whatever it is the reason they have for staying there. We're back to that again, and we're trying to bring back full lifetime term limits back to the politicians to get rid of this career politician episode we have going on in the community.
And now, why do you think term limits are so important?
Well, basically I think the voter, and let me just jump off and say this, since the inception, and I want to make it perfectly clear to the listening audience out there, Hector, since the inception, people would ask us when we were asking for them to sign for a charter review, are we out of the loop in essence? Are we going to have a say? Thank God, and I'll say that loud and clear, the final say will not be in the hands of the 9 commissioners. It goes this coming November 2011, on the next election. The voters of this community will have the right to either say we support the changes that have been brought forward, or they can say we don't support the changes. And it's a safety net, thank God, that we have in place. And that's the way it should be, and it will be. They will have the final say. What we have to do between now and November, regardless of what comes out of the Charter Commission, we have to make the public aware of some of the changes that are the changes that have been made to the charter or recommended for change. And then the voter in November will say, you know, I've reviewed all these changes, whatever comes forward, I'm on board, or they will give their vote against it. So yes or no would be the vote.
What are some of the changes in general?
Okay. We've talked about a lot of things. I was, at our last charter meeting, I was a little bit discouraged, I'll say it perfectly honest with the listening audience here. I was discouraged because one of the changes that I was a prime advocate of it, was that all appointments made to this, any appointment in the city made by the mayor should go back to the city council for their vote of approval on it. Now, we worded it because it wasn't in the charter, and the charter has been changed somewhat over the years, that, for instance, any rank of below sergeant in the police department no longer had to come before the city council. Any part-time employee that was hired did not have to come before the city council. Any seasonal employee did not have to come before the city council. The mayor had the discretion to do it on his own. We felt that we're looking for checks and balances. And we felt, listen, you've got an elected body besides the mayor. My feeling is I would rather put it in the hands of 9 people than in 1 person. That's my own personal feeling. Anything I'm saying, and I want it loud and clear, Hector, to the audience here, I am speaking for myself personally. I am not here speaking as the chairperson for the Charter Commission. What they generate and comes out of the Charter Commission will be 9 people that will be voting on it. On a personal basis is what I'm speaking for. So I felt that an important step forward again would be go back to the old way. The old way was all appointments went before the city council. I thought we had the votes. There was indication from some of the people that turned around and voted against it, and that now is out the window again. So that was one thing. Another thing that we really fell into, and I was very passionate about besides term limits, when we were reviewing other city charters, in the city of Lynn, I came across some language that really caught my eye, and basically it stated the following. The city of Lynn has built into their charter language that states that if the mayor and the city council want to go out for a bonding issue, in other words, here in the city of Methuen, any large projects would require us going out to borrow the money, a bonding issue. The city of Lynn has language in their charter that states the following. If it exceeds $4 million, guess what? It has to go to the people that have to pay the bills, the taxpayers. I love it. I thought that was a safety net that I'd like to see in the city of Methuen.
Right.
It would give the power back where it belongs. That's what I've been about as far as my goal in this, the Charter Commission. I feel that definitely we should. Now, the argument is, well, you have elected officials that should be able to make that determination, Mr. Pappalardo. Why do you want to bring that forward? You know something? Think about it for a minute. How many times don't the elected officials listen to the people out there? You know, once you're elected, and I being a former an elected official, sometimes you get tuned out to what the masses are telling you, what the citizens are telling you. You think that you know best, but sometimes we don't know best. So this is why I thought it was a very, very good issue to really consider. It hasn't come up for the second read. I'll be perfectly honest with you. I think the chances of it passing are pretty low, slim to none. And the unfortunate part that I see here is this. The Charter Commission consists of 9 members. You have some members that feel they'd like to keep things status quo. Everything is wonderful, leave it alone. You have other members like myself that feel, wait a minute, I think things can be improved on, and I think some of the issues that are coming out should be loud and clear to the public to make them aware of what's going on. And instead of the 9 of us speaking, let the people finally decide. The problem being is you need 5 votes to move it from point A to point B. B being the public to be able to say what their input is. We may be short-circuited to point B. That's the problem, because unfortunately I don't think there's 5 votes on the Charter Commission that are thinking that way presently. Maybe on some issues there may be, but on others I don't think, like the bonding issue, like term limits. We have a vote right now that has been taken by the Charter Commission that wants the following. All elected officials will no longer fall under the term limit restriction. In other words, Joe Pappalardo decides to run for mayor. If I have the money, number one, I have the organization behind me, I possibly could be the mayor for the next 10, 15 years.
Sure.
20 years.
Forever.
And forever. Okay? This is what we were hoping for. So the argument has been, well, the voters have that right already. listen, it's pretty hard to defeat, as we all know, somebody that has that ingredients, the money, the organization behind them to change anything. So that's why I've been a proponent, along with Dottie Khalil here, and others, Pat Giuliano, and Maureen Donovan, definitely, of saying we need to keep term limits if possible. But again, the voters will have to make that decision.
And we've seen in the news in regards to the probation scandals with the hiring practice and so on, government operating behind closed doors, not being open and transparent to the people. Is this the reason why the charter came together to make these type of changes? Should anybody in government have a job for life?
No.
My personal feeling, if you're asking me, obviously no. I don't believe that. And I think transparency has been a major goal, I know, of, as I said, the 4 members that I mentioned there. And I think it's just, and speaking for maybe the others too, which I really shouldn't be, but they feel that things are good the way they are, and we don't need any major bullets like we have brought forward to load into the gun, as you'd say.
As far as term limits, the President of the United States gets 2 terms,
correct,
2 4-year terms.
That's right.
As well as the Governor of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts also gets 2-year terms.
Right.
Why should Methuen politics be any different? Why should it be any different?
Dottie will answer that basically.
It's just a power issue. I mean, they want to remain in power. A lot of our politicians have family members working for the city, and they are operating under the guise that it's their responsibility to make sure the family members have jobs. And right now, we're being penalized by the chairman of the council, because every time Joe's wife takes a vote and Pat Giuliano takes a vote, we suffer on the Charter Commission. He's, penalizing us to try to get them to change their mind on an issue. And it's just petty. It's just Methuen's petty politics. It'll never change in this community.
Now, can that be considered a conflict of interest, where you would have a member of a city councilor being part of a committee of issue? Would it be considered?
No, because everybody has the right to run for office, and it's an unpaid position anyway. Right. I suppose if we were being paid, they wouldn't have been able to run, because they would be collecting twice, from the city coffers, but there's no conflict there. It's just uncomfortable because the chairman is wielding a heavy stick now as a penalty, and he claims to be a proponent of term limits. He loves term limits, but he's the one who put the motion on the floor. But he's mad at Jeannie and Pat, so.
Now, the commission voted against term limits. That was the second read, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Right. What happens next?
What will happen is, when this is finalized, part of the question that will be proposed, part of it, will indicate in there, did the voters of the city of Methuen favor elimination of term limits? And if you vote yes for the general charter, you're voting everything which would be part of doing away with the term limits. So
a yes vote would basically enforce the term limits to be wiped out completely.
Correct.
So
Right.
anybody
Absolutely.
can run for 15, 20 years for the rest of their lives and hold that particular seat.
Right. And where I catch myself, Hector, caught in the conflict here we are, Dottie, myself, the group, the Citizens for Better Government group, that brought this forward. We brought forward to review and make some changes. There's a lot of good changes that we have proposed in there, both. I mean, the 9 members have. There are good changes that have been brought forward. For instance, in the city of Lynn, we also found that they had something called the management audit. The management audit goes into great detail as to departments being audited on a period of time. I can't remember whether it was 3 years, 5 years, 8 years, that they would be automatically audited. They also, in the management audit, the auditing firm would come back to the city council and make recommendations to the council and say, listen, we think you can save monies or do away with positions that aren't necessary here or there. So you'd get input from an outside auditing firm that would be looking at the figures, looking at, you know, the income, the expenses, so on and so forth. So, and it seems, I got to say this, I think that from the first read vote, the 9 members were on board for a management audit, you know, and there was a little bit of tinkering with some wording by Mr. Cronin, I got to say this at the time, that stated that basically he would like to make sure that the money was there in the budget to do the audit. So we did. We got wording from the solicitor on that. That was another important thing.
That passed second read, though.
Did it pass second read?
Pretty sure.
Okay. Well, another item was for the next city auditor. The next city auditor that would come in to be the accountant for the city must have a master's degree, I believe, or
CPA.
Of a CPA. They have to have the necessary degrees, schooling, etc., behind them in order to sit in that seat. And that was also brought up.
Joe, explain to them why we can't separate the question on term limits.
That was actually going to be one of my next question was going to be, if everything's in a package, wouldn't it be easier to put questions separately and let people vote separately on those particular questions?
When we've had 2 public hearings where we've had input from people, obviously, that live in the community. They have indicated loud and clear, listen, we'd like to be able to maybe vote on term limits separately, maybe the bonding issue you're talking about, Joe, that you've brought forward separately. Why can't we do this on a separate basis? My understanding from the lady that came in to address the commission, Ms. Contreras from the Community Development and Housing Board, she indicated that we cannot cafeteria style when it comes to the mode and the composition of the, we can't break it up into separate questions. Now, I went in on several visits with Dottie Khalil, and Jack Cronin too was at this meeting, and I asked our city solicitor, because sometimes, sorry to say, you can tell me something and it's got to penetrate, and you have to tell me maybe a couple of times. But anyhow, I asked the solicitor once again. I said, Peter, I said, my question to you is this. Can we have a separate question, for instance, on the bonding issue?
Yes, we can.
And he indicated loud and clear, yes, you can, Joe. I've said that to you before. I apologized to him and I says, well, I needed clarification on that. But, you know, the city chairman, Mr. Cronin, was sitting there and he heard that too. So I think if we dissect it, but you need 5 votes of the commission in order to say, let's put a separate question, for instance, on that. And I don't know whether we even have that for, you know.
Term limits, we can't.
Yeah, term limits is definitely not.
So on the bonding issue, is it fair to say that the politicians work for the people?
Right.
So if government is out spending money without asking the people, do the people have the right to go in and ask their elected officials for their credit card and maybe go out and use their credit card without giving a limit as to how much it's going to spend? Is that fair game? Should that be fair game?
Should be.
Well, I understand what you're saying, but my wife happens to be on the city council, and I don't want you going and saying that to her. You know, we have our own problems there trying to meet.
He's very frugal.
I just wanted to throw it out.
As Johnny says, I'm very frugal, and I think I would be even more frugal with the taxpayers' dollar. I do have that reputation.
Well, I want to be able to tell the viewers that you can also go visit us on the web at behindthescenes.weebly.com. You can also join our Facebook page at Facebook/keyword Behind the Scenes with Hector Montalvo. Or if you have a question that you want us to ask your government or legal representation, send us an email at thehectormontalvoshow@yahoo.com. We have 2 minutes left to this program. At the end of the day, what does it all mean for the people of Methuen?
Well, I have to say this loud and clear as being a main point person on bringing the question forward. I think at the end of the day, we have gone through the exercise of reviewing the Charter Commission. The question that they have successfully put forward, I don't think, in my own personal opinion, will be the fly in the ointment that will probably sink everything else that might be good in the Charter will be voted down, I think, because, that's my own personal opinion now, because of the term limit issue. Definitely the people of Methuen, I think, from when I was gathering signatures, would like to keep term limits in place. I think they feel that it's kind of a safe zone to be in. You put in your 6 years, no one's saying to you you can't run for another office. You can go to school committee if you want to put in 6 years there. But this jumping back and forth and perpetual playing the game of staying, you know, we've heard it over and over again, Hector. We do not need lifetime career politicians. If I, as a city councilor, cannot put across my message in 6 years, do I need 20 years? Do I need 15 years? That's what it boils down to. The voters of Methuen are smart enough to realize that. Come November, I believe they will vote no for the charter changes. That's my own personal feeling on it. I could be wrong, but I don't think so.
Well,
I'd go one step further and tell them vote no. Vote no on the new charter.
Vote no.
Yep.
And
no.
We have 30 seconds left,
Right.
But is there anything that you want to tell the viewers?
Yes, I definitely have to say this in fairness to the secretaries at the City Hall that in the council's office have been very, very much accommodated. Myself as chairman, I would have been lost without them. There was a move to try circumventing some of their help. I want to thank MCTV. They've been very gracious in having me on a couple of programs. Bruce Wilson, one of your members, helped us out, bailed us out with going to City Hall when we weren't allotted the $75 that we have to pay for the cameras to be run. And I also want to thank Marilyn Freeman. She's just an ordinary citizen here in our community that puts in her time, because I asked, I says, Marilyn, we need somebody there that can take some notes in case something comes up. I need to reflect back on a vote or something at the meeting. She's volunteered her time, and I want to say thank you to them.
And is there anything that you would like to address to the public?
I think Joe's, said all that we can say. We've got a lot of people that have been really great helping us out. And he's thanked them all.
Well, we wish you luck in your endeavor to get term limits and bonding issues for the people. Government works for the people, not the other way around.
Right.
We thank you for coming in. Thank you. I want to thank my crew, I want to thank the staff at MCTV, and I want to thank you at home for watching. Join us next time as we go behind the scenes to ask the tough questions, bring you their responses, and we let you decide. Thank you for watching.